Hey, welcome back. If you're locked in on prepping for those postgraduate exams and feeling like that vocabulary list is, well, never ending, give us a thumbs up. Maybe hit that follow button.
Yeah, definitely helps us out.
Today we're tackling Day 23, Part 1. 20 words.
Crucial ones.
Exactly. They aren't just about filling blanks, right? They're keys. Keys to unlocking tougher reading passages.
And boosting your overall English game for the exam, for sure.
So think of this as your shortcut to really getting these words, understanding them like native speakers do.
By seeing them in action, that's the goal.
We're moving beyond just, rote memorization.
Absolutely. We want you to intuitively grasp these words by exploring them in different contexts, almost like you've just picked them up naturally over time.
Okay.
We'll use examples and look at how they actually show up in real exam questions to build a really solid practical understanding.
All right, let's dive straight in then. First set of words. They often paint a picture of things falling apart or stopping.
Like habitat.
Yeah, habitat. You probably know this one. The natural environment where an animal or plant lives.
Simple enough.
Like, the panda's natural habitat is the bamboo forest. Pretty clear, right?
Absolutely. But now imagine you're reading, say, a conservation article.
Okay.
You might see a sentence like this. It's actually from a real exam. The fund will also be used to compensate landowners who set aside habitat.
Ah, okay. So habitat here is different.
Well, it takes on a more formal feel, almost a legal dimension.
Right.
It's not just any forest, it's a defined area, valuable enough that someone gets paid to protect it.
Got it. So the context really changes the weight of the word.
Exactly. It deepens the meaning. It's not just where a panda lives, it's a resource.
Something that can be protected legally, economically. Okay. Makes sense. Next up, breakdown. This one feels like it has a couple of common uses. You hear about the breakdown of negotiations.
Meaning they failed, no agreement.
Right. Or you could hear about national breakdown organizations. Like when your car stops working.
Totally different scenario, but still a breakdown.
Yeah.
So in the first case, it's a failure of a process, a system failure.
Like the negotiations.
Right. And in the second, it's about something mechanical, stopping, ceasing to function.
But the core idea is similar.
Precisely. Something that was working or progressing has stopped or fallen apart.
Okay. And that leads us nicely to collapse.
Ah, yes. That's
Similar idea to breakdown, maybe, but feels stronger, more sudden.
Could be. Often more dramatic, yeah.
We have the literal image, like the roof collapsed under the weight of snow. You can almost see it.
Very visual.
But then there's this more abstract use, again, from a real exam.
Which one?
Integrity had collapsed, she argued, because of a collective acceptance that the only sorting mechanism in society should be profit and the market.
Wow, okay. That's interesting.
Right. Collapse applied to something intangible, like integrity.
Yeah, that's powerful. It suggests a fundamental failure, a loss of something that was once strong.
So the focus on profit.
Becoming the only measure. It implies that other values, other principles have just fallen away.
Collapsed. Okay.
It's a really effective way to describe a big societal shift. Have you noticed how often words with physical meanings get used for abstract ideas in academic writing?
That is a great point. Yeah, like the framework of integrity just gave way under pressure, like the roof.
Exactly. It helps us grasp these complex ideas.
Okay. Now let's shift slightly. Elapse.
Time passing.
Yeah. Many years had elapsed before they returned to their original urban areas.
Yeah.
This one just speaks to the passage of time, doesn't it?
It does.
A kayak drifting by.
Exactly. Elapse is specifically about the time between two events.
And usually a fair amount of time.
Often suggests as a considerable amount, yes, and it focuses purely on that duration.
Got it. Okay, let's switch gears. Let's talk about paths. Literal and figurative paths.
Okay, like avenue.
Exactly. Avenue. You might picture crowded city avenues, right? Or maybe a long avenue of trees leading to a grand house.
The literal street or path.
But we also use avenue to mean a way of approaching something, like exploring all possible avenues to solve a problem.
That's right. So the literal avenue is a route, a path.
Yeah.
And the figurative one just extends that idea, represents a course of action, an option.
A choice.
A means of reaching a goal. Yeah. So when you see avenue in academic text, you got to ask, is it a street?
Or is it a potential solution, an approach to research?
Exactly. Context is key.
Okay. And speaking of ways to get somewhere, Let's talk revenue.
Money talk. Crucial in economics, business.
Definitely. You see it in sentences like, the company's annual revenues increased significantly.
Or tourism is a vital source of revenue for many island nations.
It's all about the money coming in.
Precisely. Revenue is specifically that total income generated by a business or from some source before any deductions.
Right, the gross amount.
Yeah. It's a foundational term for any financial discussion. You'll see it everywhere.
Okay. Now let's group some words around the ideas of, like, heavy and light.
Interesting grouping.
Let's see. First up is grave. This one can be a bit somber.
Understandably.
It can refer to a burial place, an unmarked grave.
The noun, literal.
But it also describes something very serious, like grave consequences.
The adjective,
Yeah.
conveying weightiness, seriousness.
And we even have the related word gravity, right, to emphasize the seriousness of a situation, not just the physics thing.
Exactly. That abstract use of gravity signals that the issue is really important. High stakes.
Okay. Then we have aggravate,
Mm-hmm.
to make something worse.
Yeah. Like pollution can aggravate respiratory illnesses.
Or, on a more personal level, his constant complaining only aggravated the situation.
It's like adding fuel to a negative fire, isn't it?
It is. Aggravate implies worsening something already negative, increasing its severity or intensity.
Right. Making a bad situation worse.
Okay.
Next is grind.
Grind. Okay. This word has a few different angles. As a verb, it can mean crushing into small pieces. They grind coffee beans fresh every morning.
Okay. Physical action.
Or it can mean sharpening something, or even making that harsh, scraping sound.
Right. And as a noun, it is that unpleasant noise.
Yeah, like the machine made a terrible grinding noise,
Ugh. The core idea seems to involve friction, force.
resulting in breaking down or wearing away.
Exactly. Whether it's literally grinding coffee or that metaphorical daily grind of work,
Yeah.
there's often a sense of repetitive, sometimes laborious action.
Which maybe leads us to a more emotional word, grieve.
Ah, yes. Deep sorrow.
Especially after a loss, you might hear she grieved the loss of her friend deeply.
A common association.
But maybe also he grieved the end of the long-term project. Could that work?
Absolutely. Grieve is a strong emotional verb. It indicates deep, intense sorrow. While often linked to death, it definitely applies to other significant losses or disappointments.
Okay, so profound sadness. On a more positive note, though, relief.
Much better. Lessening pain or worry.
Right. The medicine helped to relieve his headache. Simple example.
Clear.
And here's a real example. On July 29th, they were relieved, at least temporarily.
Interesting. That temporarily is key.
Yeah. And we also have the noun of relief, that feeling being freed from discomfort or anxiety, like after an exam.
Oh, definitely. That feeling of relief. Relief focuses on reducing something, negative pain, distress, a burden.
And the exam sentence highlights that it might not be permanent.
Which is a common theme, right? Solutions in academic discussions are often temporary or partial.
True. Okay, similarly, we have alleviate.
Another one meaning to make things less severe.
Yeah, often suffering or a problem. The new policies aim to alleviate poverty.
A common goal?
And from another exam,
Yeah.
the company alleviated some of the damage from its recall crisis with a quick social media response.
Right. That shows deliberate action, an effort to reduce harm.
So alleviates, all of it implies a conscious effort to make a problem or suffering more bearable.
I think so, yeah. The company example shows that proactive approach to lessening negative consequences.
Okay. And then there's ease.
Ease, comfort, less difficulty.
It can be that feeling like he felt completely at ease among his colleagues. Comfortable.
Relaxed.
Or it can be a verb, meaning to make something less severe, like the government hopes these measures will ease the burden on families.
Making things less difficult.
And we even have the opposite adjective, uneasy, meaning worried, uncomfortable.
Right, uneasy. That contrast really sharpens our understanding of ease and its positive feeling. Ease suggests less tension, less difficulty, less discomfort.
And the verb form often implies a gradual lessening.
I'd say so, yeah. Making things easier over time.
Cool. Now let's look at some words that share that gree sound. Bit of a random group, maybe.
Let's see. First up, grateful. This one's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Feeling thankful. She was grateful for all the help she received. Basic politeness, sure. But look at this exam sentence. Instead, being grateful for small things every day is a much better way to improve well-being.
Ah, so it connects grateful to a bigger idea, well-being.
Exactly. It suggests that actively appreciating the positives isn't just polite, it actually impacts our happiness.
It's more than just saying thanks.
Right. It's a mindset.
Yeah.
We also have the noun gratitude and the adjective thankful, of course.
Related concepts.
Okay. Next, word, grant.
Grant. Okay, this has a couple of meanings.
Yeah. It can be money given for a specific purpose, like she received a research grant for her project.
Financial aid.
Or it can be a verb meaning to agree to something or allow something, like in this exam sentence. International tax rules do not grant them that right.
So not allowing or bestowing that right.
Right. And we also have that really common idiom, take for granted.
Ah, yes. Very important.
Means to assume something will always be there or always happen, like this exam sentence. Americans stop taking prosperity for granted. Ooh, that's a good one. The verb grant often implies a formal act, right? Permission, bestowal.
Yeah.
And that idiom, take for granted, is super relevant for discussions about societal changes, history. It highlights shifts in what people assume or expect.
Good point. Okay, last one in our broad group, analogy.
Analogy. Making comparisons.
Yeah, comparing two similar things to help explain something complex.
Right.
The speaker used an analogy comparing the brain to a computer.
Classic example.
Or, understanding this complex process requires drawing an analogy with a simpler system.
Using something familiar to understand something new. We also have the adjective analogous, meaning similar or comparable.
Right, analogous things.
Analogy is just such a powerful tool for clarifying complex ideas. Being able to spot and understand analogies is a really key reading skill.
Definitely. Okay, almost there. Let's move on to words related to bench.
Bench, yeah.
First, the word bench itself. You probably think of a park bench, right? Where you sit.
The common meaning, yeah.
But it also has that specific legal meaning, referring to the judge or judges in a courtroom.
Yes.
Like the lawyer addressed his arguments to the bench.
Two very distinct meanings. That legal use is essential for understanding anything about court proceedings. It represents the court's authority.
Good to know. Okay, then we have bend.
Bend.
It can be an action, like bend a piece of wire.
Changing its shape.
Or it can be a noun referring to a curve, like be careful on the sharp bend in the road.
Right. The core idea is just a deviation from a straight line or form.
Describes the action and the result.
Exactly.
Okay, lastly, we have words around the idea of binding.
Binding. Tying together.
First, bond. This can be a connection between people, like the strong bond between siblings.
Emotional connection.
Yeah. Or it can refer to a financial thing, a bond. But our example focuses on relationships.
Right. The concept of a bond signifies a strong tie, a link, often emotional, creating unity.
Okay, and finally, bind, the verb.
You tie tightly.
Yeah, physically.
They bound his hands together. Restriction.
And it can also mean to obligate someone, or restrict them legally or morally. Like, the contract binds us to certain conditions.
Ah, so physical restriction, but also being obligated by rules, agreements.
Yeah. Both meanings.
So the verb bind covers both physical restraint and imposing obligations or limitations. It suggests being connected or restricted in some way.
Okay. Wow. That wraps up our deep dive into the vocabulary from Day 23, Part 1.
Quite a list.
Yeah. We covered habitat, breakdown, collapse, elapse, avenue, revenue, grave, aggravate, grind, grieve.
Relieve, alleviate, ease, grateful, grant, analogy.
And bench. Bend, bond, and bind.
Ew.
That's 20. Hopefully, by seeing them in these different contexts, especially with those real exam connections, you're building a much stronger, more intuitive understanding, better than just memorizing definitions.
Absolutely. And think about how these words might function within arguments, within discussions you encounter in your academic reading. Recognizing them in context, that will significantly improve your comprehension, your ability to analyze complex texts. It really builds up.
That's the goal. Yeah. So we'd love for you to engage with us.
Please do.
If this deep dive was helpful, give us a like, maybe share it with a friend who's also prepping.
That would be great.
And in the comments, tell us about any sentences you've seen recently where these words really stood out to you.
Your own examples really help solidify your understanding.
And they can help others too.
Definitely. And, as you continue studying, just think about how mastering vocabulary like this, it isn't just about passing an exam.
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's about developing the precision, the nuance you need for effective communication, for critical thinking in whatever field you choose.
It's a continuous process, isn't it?
It really is, and we hope these sessions are, well, a valuable part of your journey.